Morning, everybody. Welcome to this Tech Talk, the first from my side for the new year. So let's start off with what we know and what we have come to expect at the beginning of every of these Tech Talks. Tips to continuously prevent COVID-19. The only reason that we are in the position where we are is because we generally comply with these requirements. Wear a mask when out in public. No, it's hot, it's summer, it's uncomfortable, but it can save your life or someone in your family's life. Wash your hands with soap or alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth with unwashed hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. It's not always possible. Sometimes you walk into, especially in our industry, you walk into someone else's premises. You're not always aware of what their medical status is. Cover your cough or sneeze with a flexed elbow or tissue, then throw the tissue away, and then clean and disinfect frequently used surfaces and objects. We keep doing that, we'll keep beating this whole pandemic story. So this morning, and before you start worrying, don't worry about those electrical wires. I'm not betting for the other team. I haven't changed trades, still proudly plumber. But the standard that we're dealing with this morning is all around energy. We've all heard about 10400 XA. We've seen architects struggle. We've seen developers trying to save money. It's all about sustainability. It's all about energy usage in buildings. So in 2016 at the World Plumbing Conference, mention was made that very few trades would affect people's health and the environment as much as what plumbers can do. So as far as 10400 XA is concerned, it is pretty much a revised standard from last year. I'm just going to run through the first bit of the standard like a normal standard would read. It always starts off with a foreword, and that will tell you that this committee has addressed these issues, and this document, let me just get, sorry. Here we go. This document was approved in publication or for publication in November 2021. So you see it's a very new document. It's still in its run-in period. But this supersedes a document that was published in 2011 already, just after 2010 when energy efficiency became an issue. That document has now been revised. And the important message is that compliance with the requirements of this document will be deemed to be compliance with the requirements of XA of the building regulations issued in terms of the Act. So just as a refresher, or just to pull all the loose things together or the loose ends together, in that national building regulations, we have got various parts. Part X deals with environmental sustainability. XA is the portion that we're dealing with. It says energy usage in order to contribute to the reduction of greenhouse gases buildings and extensions to buildings. Note, it's not only new buildings, all new work, in respect of which plans and specifications are to be drawn and submitted in terms of the Act, having, okay, all of those little blue digits there, different building classifications. The ones we worried about start around about here mostly, would be sectional title units, normal single dwellings, and hospitality. So the H is the residential portion. The requirement is that they shall be designed and constructed so that they are capable of using energy efficiently while fulfilling user needs in relation to vertical transport, if any, thermal comfort, lighting, and hot water. Having a building envelope and services which facilitate the efficient use of energy appropriate to their function, internal environment, and geographical location. Very important, that geographical, because people in Northern Cape look at the environment different than the guys in the Southern or Eastern Cape or up in Gauteng. And even Gauteng, going up to Mpumalanga, those areas, every region has got its own little quirks that we need to deal with. So equipment and plant required for conducting the business shall be excluded. So if you need to have a welder in your shop, obviously you're not going to find an energy efficient welder that could comply with the requirements. But the point is that the national building regulations then require these buildings to do that work for us. How do we satisfy, or how do we comply with that requirement? It shall be deemed to satisfy when the building is an orientation, shading services and building envelope in accordance with the standard that we're about to look at, or is the subject of a rational design by a competent person which demonstrates that the energy usage is equivalent or better than what would have been achieved with 10-400 XA. I did that course, and anything that comes via a rational design, whether it's double glazing or whether it's bigger insulation, bigger overhangs, anything that you do as far as a rational design is concerned, it tends to be more expensive. So compliance with the standard is always an option. And then, of course, there's the theoretical calculations with thermal calculation software to get you around to that. But enough of the electrical and the building work. Let's get to XA2. It's referenced so many times in different documents. So let's see what it requires. It says at least 50% volume fraction of the annual average hot water heating requirements shall be provided by means other than electrical resistance heating, including but not limited to solar heating, heat pumps, heat recovery from other systems or processes, and renewable combustible fuel. So if we look at XA2, that would be the plumbing or part of the services hot water requirement for energy efficiency. So if we carry on with the standard, you'll see that there's a whole lot of other things that they refer to a building envelope. Your whole building design needs to be of a nature that it uses less electricity. So orientation, the longer axis facing east-west, meaning that the rooms face north, if not possible, as close as possible. Shading, fenestration, floors, external walls, roof assembly, all of those things contribute to an energy efficient building envelope. But when it comes to services, it takes a bit of calculation. So you'll see hot water supply, lighting, air conditioning. The fact that you have air conditioning means that you first need to make sure that if you do install an air conditioner, that it would actually help. If your building is facing west and you have sun facing into a room all day, that means that air conditioner is going to be running 24/7, because so it can't be energy efficient. But like I said, let's skip all the other stuff. Let's go straight back to hot water supply. That's what we do. That's what we're good at. So the scope of this document provides deemed to satisfy requirements for compliance or with the building. We'll have a look at that trajectory right at the end there. So just a quick run through the normative references, and you'll see for an energy document, you'll see the plumbers prop up this document pretty well if you consider it's actually building an electrical document. So the reference is there to SANS 151, fixed storage water heaters. The requirement SANS 1307 for the domestic storage, solar storage, solar, sorry. 1352, domestic air source heat pumps. 1539, you'll see the two green ones. We do have people that have got dual qualifications. So the gas guys, or the guys that are registered to do gas. SANS 1539 is the safety aspect of a gas geyser. 1687 is the actual air source heat pump standard. So the units that we're using should be tested to that. And then 180824 is the gas operated water heater, but that is for the water supply and distribution system. So if you do look at a gas geyser and you are going to commit to doing that SIN, then make sure that it complies with 1539 is a gas safety, and 1808 is the actual water supply system or components of that geyser. Once again, for the gas guys, we've got the handling, storage of LP gas in installations not exceeding 500 liters. But then we go back to the plumbing, and at 10.10.6, the installation, maintenance, and repair of domestic solar water heating. 10.252, we all know it's for water supply in buildings. And 10.254, the installation, maintenance, replacement, repair of fixed electric storage water heating systems. So all our documents are referenced in the normative references and are considered a big part of this document. So we've spoken about we're going into the terms and definitions. We've spoken about the building envelope. It's basically the whole building, including everything. So that would be the design. I'd like to highlight one or two of these. You'll see that a competent person who is qualified by education, training, experience, and contextual knowledge to make a determination regarding the performance of a building or any part thereof. So the hot water is a part thereof in relation to a functional regulation or to undertake such duties as may be assigned to them in terms of the regulation. So I'd like to highlight that this standard refers to that competent person. It does not say, Mr. Plumber, you take the responsibility for the design of this hot water on this house because you are the plumber. It says that that competent person should tell you or should have a drawing submitted to council or should do a design that would make the installation of what you are given on a building plan or a design approvable by the local authority. Then we get to deemed to satisfy requirements. We keep hearing this deemed to satisfy requirements in every single standard. The short and sweet of it is it's a non-mandatory requirement. No one says you have to do it. But the nice thing is that if you comply with these deemed to satisfy requirements, it ensures compliance with the regulation. In other words, you get given the recipe. If you would like to add some raisins or peanuts or chocolate chips or whatever to that recipe, that's on you. But then you deviate from the deemed to satisfy requirements, it becomes your responsibility. It becomes the responsibility of said competent person. So yes, it is a non-mandatory requirement, but it is there to make sure that if you do what it says, that you actually comply. Energy efficiency ratio, it's a new, well, not a, it's new in the term in the standard, but it's basically a ratio of output heating energy to input electrical energy of a water heating device. We use terms like COP as a coefficient of performance on the heat pumps, etc. So it's basically a ratio between how much electricity am I using to heat that amount of water. Electrical resistance heating is an electric current derived from the national supply grid passing through a conductor to produce heat. Straightforward, we've got that. Orientation. It's something that the plumber's got no influence over, but it is a requirement within the standard for a building designer to ensure that the direction that the building faces accommodates energy efficiency. So if he's got a pitch roof and the pitch is facing east-west, that would mean that your installation of your solar will not comply. So somewhere along the line at design stage, if they submit that unit with a east-west facing pitch, you'll probably find if there's solar indicated that the council won't approve that, because that would put the plumber in a position where he's got to go back and make a little bracket or hang one side of the panel and the collector from a homemade bracket. Someone else is going to take responsibility for something that should have been done in the design stages. So we can run through the rest of these at your own leisure. They're not totally where we need to be. I'd like to get to the business end of this document. In any building, not where you stay, it's not going to be checked. In any new building or portion of an addition or alteration or both to an existing building, excluding garage, storage, and other defined areas, because obviously a garage, you don't need to have energy efficiency in that portion. Or occupancy classified in terms of regulation 820 as A1, and we go through all of those numbers again. You'll see shortly that A1, each of these little digits have reference to a specific occupation. So then it says that these buildings, excluding the, shall have the orientation in accordance with that. In other words, it should be facing correctly. The shading should be done. Fenestration should be done. The floor should be insulated, perimeters, underfloor. If there's underfloor heating, that should comply. The wall should comply. The roof and ceiling assembly should comply. The building ceiling, in other words, there shouldn't be any air gaps on the doors and windows. But then, where we step in, Services that use energy or control the use of energy, excluding plant required for conducting business, but including fixed space cooling. In other words, the heating and cooling, aircon or air conditioners and all fixed lighting are required to provide energy levels in accordance with clause 6. We'll have a look at clause 6 now. And then you'll find that for some or the other reason, our country has been divided up into 7 zones. So if I skip that cities and towns because there's literally a list at the back in one of the annexes where you can go look for your city or town and see which zone and which ratio you need to work on. So if we look at figure 1, as discussed, you can see we've got different zones. And each of these zones have, you'll find that the top, it says their color, the zone is coded. So that's color coded. One of those 7 zones will be where you stay. And then it's got heating and cooling. So when it comes to ratios or calculations, that, let's call it, okay, we'll take the easy one. For these guys, they get hot in summer, they get cold in winter. So we're looking at medium, so they have a similar heating, cooling requirement. But you do go to places like 6, you'll find there where it's very, very cold, you'll find that they work on high heating, low cooling. So everything is given, or everything has been pre-calculated, handed to the professionals and to the local authorities for that matter, to make sure that the calculations get done according to this. And then you'll find for the poor guys down the East Coast, you'll see there's a bit of a marking there, say greater than 80% humidity. Good luck with that, but there. Okay. So, hot water supply as far as services are concerned. Remember, the document says we need to comply with section 6 or portion 6. The following types of water heating technology may be used to meet the requirements of XA. Domestic solar water heaters that comply, heat pumps that comply, sustainably sourced timber and invasive vegetation. So if you have a forest next to you with invasive vegetation, start chopping. Biogas, natural gas, LP gas, and heat recovering from building or external processes. This thing gets very, very complicated, guys. I attended a course a while ago done by a professor. His only line of expertise, or his current major, or his presentations are all based on energy efficiency. We're looking at what happened in Europe, Australia, all over the world, and they incorporating it. And I can tell you, he gave the architects an absolute lashing about hot water services, under designing them too small, not being efficient, not getting to the 50%. So you'll find that there's a whole lot. This note especially says if electrical heating is used to supplement the above. So if you have a solar system, but it's got electrical backup, that supplementary heating may not be used to the extent of 50%. So your electricity contribution or your consumption to that system cannot be more than 50%. There's no sense in using 20% of your solar water heating, and the rest is all back to resistance electricity. Quick points that we need to look at with regards to hot water. The minimum storage capacity for hot water cylinders used with domestic solar water heaters and heat pumps are provided in table 10. Previously, it was a calculation done based on a table in 10252 part 1, and it said that you need 40 to 50 liters per person per day, etc., etc. So now what they've done is we've added a table, or there was a table added saying this is what we do, or this is how much you need. So we've ticked that box. Domestic solar water heaters shall comply with the requirements of 1307 and shall be installed in accordance with 10.10.6. So now the building control officers are being told that a SANS 1307 collector and cylinder will be efficient, it will work, and we'll get everything done that we need to get done, but we need to make sure that those units comply and they are installed as per the standards provided for the plumbers. Heat pumps, the same thing. If you're buying a heat pump, that unit should comply with SANS 1687, and it should be installed with SANS 1352. So without boasting, if you have listened to those 2 points, we have been installing per 10.10.6 and auditing per 10.10.6. We have been installing per 1352 and being audited accordingly. So basically what we need to do is we need to make sure that the units that we install are now coming to the party as well. Same thing for the the gas guys. Take note, it says that the heaters shall comply with 180824. Not only the gas safety, it should also comply with the water. And important, then if you are going to install these units and your client insists on having this gas geyser, SANS 10252 Part 1 and 10254 for the storage gas water both require balanced pressure. So make sure you don't get caught by installing something that is going to end up giving you hassles. As far as the storage is concerned, those units are available. The only inclusion there would be SANS 151 because they need to actually, those cylinders still need to comply. So we've been doing that. All exposed pipes, take note, indoor or outdoor, conveying hot water to and from the cylinder and the heating system shall be insulated with pipe material with an R value in accordance with table 11, which you'll see shortly. And then again, piping to be insulated includes all supply and return hot water piping, cold water piping within 1 meter the connection to the heating or cooling system, and pressure relief piping within 1 meter of the connection to the system. So basically you'll see 10252 Part 1 being dragged in here and being made part of XA because this is already in the other standards. So we're basically dragging everything onto the same page. I'm not going to go too much into detail with this. Table 10 that was referred to earlier says minimum storage requirements for hot water cylinders used with domestic solar water and domestic heat pumps stored at 60 degrees. So you'll see there's the occupancy. There's the little digits that were quoted all over the place. Then it says average annual hot water usage per person. And then there's one that says storage with a note that says for solar water heaters, that storage volume shall be 50% more. So let's go down to the one that says H. There we go. So H being hotels, dormitories. Here we get to the residential component. We're looking at retirement villages. We're looking at sectional titled units that would all fall under H3. So you'll see there's a consumption indicated, and then there's a storage capacity that is required per person. We go to a normal dwelling house. All others. Category 1 is a complicated negotiable portion, but you can see it makes 5 liters per person. So on a 2-bedroom house, it makes 20 liters difference. So it's not that big a deal. Like I said, the 10252 Part 1 Table 5 required 40 to 50 liters. That has now been stipulated as 50 liters per person in that dwelling. And if you're putting up solar, you need to add 50% onto that. The idea being that the bigger amount of hot water, if you start using that hot water and cold water comes in, the unit would actually stay hotter for longer. So you can see that there's no more guesswork involved. The architect's got this new table. He's got this detail. If he designs a dwelling house as a H4, that he needs to provide 115 liters per person per day for hot water consumption, and 50% of the total for the day, for the year must be derived from something other than electricity. Almost there. Basically a repeat of what we have in 10252 Part 1. Lagging. We've been installing lagging. Our installations have been audited, all to the fact that we want the R1 lagging installed around the pipe to make sure that this thing complies. So why do we go through all of this trouble? There's a nice thermal image of a geyser in a roof, and you can see exactly what happens with those dark patches being the pink aerolite in the ceiling. There you can see the heat trying to escape from the house into the roof space. Here you can see the outlet on that geyser, see how hot that has become there. So the loss on that piping to and from the geyser is absolutely huge. So we need R1 lagging. We've been doing that, Mr. Portfolio Minister for Department Trade and Industry. We have been doing it. We're now going to be assisted by everybody involved to make sure that we keep doing this. Lastly, the only normative annex in this whole document is Annex B. Modeling conditions means that if a professional decides he's not happy, he wants his client's house to be round and have windows all round, and he can do modeling on that building. He can put in double glazing, he can put in tinting, he can put an umbrella over the house for that matter. The main thing is that as far as Annex B is concerned, if you are going to model, hot water shall be supplied at the consumption rate given in Table 10, so you're not going to deviate from that, and equipment designed to maintain and supply the water temperature at 60 degrees. So you can play around with the numbers, you can fiddle this way, you can design that way. B3 says if you are going to model, it's a normative, you shall supply water as per Table 10. And then just lastly, maybe you do get asked by your clients, maybe you're sitting there wondering, why am I logged in a plumber's tech talk? And we're talking about energy, and we are talking about electricity and saving electricity. The energy strategy published by the Department of Energy identified a 15-year trajectory. So basically, in short, we are currently here. If we take 2021 as the normal, if we started off in 2021, by 2022, we're supposed to be at 92% of what we were consuming back then. If you now look at the rest of the table, and it basically says here 8% reduction on previous maximum energy demand and maximum annual consumption every 2 years. So the intention is, and it's something that we need to look at as far as our industry is concerned, by 2029 and 2030, which sounds a long way off, but if you consider we're in 2022, so basically 7-8 years from now, we're going to have to be at 2/3 of what we are currently consuming, 66%. That is the trajectory that we're working towards. So that's my little bit. I know it's a lot of information in a short space of time. Believe there was already talk about going into more detail. There are some courses available that actually deal with this. So I just thought I'd give you a heads up on the standard that was changed. So if you do get approached to quote or work on a job, bear in mind that these changes should be on the drawing, or they should be part of that design. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the session. Keep safe out there, and until next time, keep plumbing.